The Randy video, and today we're going to be talking about the brand new mechanic that just came out about less than 24 hours ago, and I wanted to wait to make this video just so we can get a little bit more information on what's going on to happen in the near future. So basically, what is the new archetype? Let's jump right into it by discussing the new mechanic. So the new mechanic, these are link monsters. They're kind of akin to ritual monsters in certain ways. They look like ritual monsters, but they don't actually act like ritual monsters. They don't have levels, or they don't have defense. That's part of their new mechanic. But they do have attack power, and this one is actually relatively kind of cool. This is Dark Cybers type Link effect monster. Is Decoder Talker. Is probably the main dude's ace monster. We're getting a new type also called Cybers, which is really interesting. It's a Link 3 2300 attack, and the materials are 2 or more effect monsters. So you could just basically what the Link mechanic is you take 2 monsters and then it's kind of like a synchro summon. It's other than it just doesn't require a tuner, but you can only play Link monsters in the Link zone. You can't play you can play Link monsters into other zones, into zones, but that's the nitty gritty details right here. So here on Yugioh organization, I'll drop the link in below. There are 2 ways to summoning. First, sending materials to the grave equal to the number of links. So if say this guy is Link 3, you need to send 3 monsters to the graveyard, and they have to be, I believe, effect monsters for this guy, but they can be any monster if it's required to be that way. 3 effect monsters is definitely not hard to do. Definitely not hard to do at all. But we'll see how that goes. And then, but you can also link summon something from your extra deck by sending the same number of monsters that meet the material requirements written on the effects box, whose total number is equal to the link monsters. And also you can also decrease materials by using link monsters, which is really good. So basically, another way to do this is basically if you have a Link 1 or a Link 2, you can just send one other effect monster plus a Link 2 monster, or Link 1 monster plus another effect monster, and that will correspond to 3. It's kind of like synchro summoning in a way, because you're kind of still removing those 2 cards. The condition is still being met, but it's still definitely interesting. Or like in this case, this one requires 2 or more. You just go 1 and 1. You go a Link monster plus another Link monster, or you go a Link monster with a Link of 3 into this card, or plus another card into that card, and then it'll have 2 more links attached to it. So it's definitely a convoluted mechanic, but it's definitely one that's really interesting, and it kind of is what I've been kind of hoping that it would be in some ways. To have this kind of just intricate synchro mechanic that's kind of interesting. But what are we talking about here? But there's also some other changes here. There are some other changes here. The zones. There's no such thing as monsters, specifically monster zones, or just spell and trap card zones. Well, they still exist, but there is a new zone called the extra deck zone, which basically you only put monsters from the extra deck there. You know, your fusions, your Sig monsters, your synchro monsters, now Link monsters. All those cards will only work there. It does not apply to Pendulum monsters, because Pendulum monsters technically aren't extra deck monsters, so you don't have to worry about those. But you can, and at the start of the duel, these zones are up for grabs. So basically, if you link summon first, then you link summon first, and that zone is yours. And but you can only but if you choose to Xyz summon or synchro summon or fusion summon, the fusion summon or the synchro or the Xyz monster is going into that link or the Xyz zone, or in the extra deck zone. Basically, like for example, you activate instant fusion, you summon Nord to that zone, and then its effect will go off. I'm not sure if you could still overlay in that zone, or if you could still synchro summon in that zone using synchro monsters. However, you can only have like 1 synchro or 1 fusion or 1 Xyz summon in that zone at a time. What makes Link monsters interesting, however, is the fact that that you can basically just play your Link monster in whatever area it's pointing to, because these monsters have a have arrows. I'm not sure if you can see it right here, but they have arrows that are pointing in different directions. This one, for example, is pointing in the diagonal left and right. So you could basically have monsters in those zones from the extra deck. So you can see summon into like Dark Rebellion Dragon that this poster has here. You can synchro summon into Stardust Dragon, whatever the case may be. And that will ultimately just be your extension to your Xyzs and Synchros and Fusions and all that stuff. You can also put other Link monsters in there as well. So if you want to, it's cool. And the second change, and this is actually kind of an interesting change, and this is kind of something that they didn't really have to do, but they did anyway, is that the Pendulum Zones now take up 2 spots in your Spell and Trap card zone. However, you can still use those Pendulums, the Pendulum Zones for normal Spell and Traps, as it says here. But the Pendulum monsters that you're going to set to those scales now occupy 2 Spell and Trap card zones, which makes it a little bit more coordinated and a little bit more strategic, because now you don't have to set scales outside of this area here and then just blow up on your opponent's face. And you now have to take up 2 spots, and that kind of actually might be definitely. This might actually balance Pendulum mechanic to a degree to where it's slow enough to be balanced. So, basically, Link Monsters is definitely an interesting mechanic. The ways that the extra monster zone and all that stuff is how it is definitely interesting. It's definitely rerouting the game, and it definitely probably will make the game a lot slower than it is now. We will see a drastic slowdown of the mechanic as a whole. So, yeah. Anyway, guys, tell me what you guys think about this, about the Link mechanic in the comment section down below. I will see you guys in the next video. This has been Team Metamorphose, and I will be signing out.